Buenos dias, chicos. A very warm welcome to the part of South America, the physical features that we had skipped while we were doing the other three of the four physical features of South America. And as you can understand, that this is the reason why I had told you that we really need to dedicate one full day to the Andes Cordillera. Can you look at this beautiful picture? It's not a photoshopped picture. It's actually a real picture of the Andes Cordillera. Now, please turn to page number 112 where you have the Andes Mountains, so that as we go with along the text, as I keep on telling you about the mountains, you can also relate it with whatever is written in pages 112 and 113. So here we go. This is the majestic Andes Cordillera. Now, this mountain is a young-fold mountain, and they run all along the western border of South America. And which ocean is on this side? It is the Pacific Ocean. So basically, as your textbook also says, the Andes Mountain, they form the backbone of South America, and it extends all along the west coast. Can you see? It passes through Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina. Chile is this little narrow country, not little, quite long in extent, but it runs all through the continent and therefore is basically considered as the backbone of the entire continent of South America. And did you know that it is the second highest mountain range above the sea level? Well, we have conquered the top position with Himalayas, where Mount Everest is the highest peak. Here also you can see that Mount Aconcagua, this is the highest peak of the Andes. It is the world's longest chain of mountains, and as your book says, the second highest mountain range above the sea level after Himalayas. If you look at the Andes from the top out here till Tierra del Fuego in the south, you will find that the Andes actually cover a staggering distance of 7,200 kilometers. Now, how do the Andes get their name, which is there in the little pink portion? The Andes Mountains are actually a storehouse of the minerals of which are very wealthy minerals. Minerals like copper, gold, silver, platinum, tin, and even lead, they are found here in this continent. So here I have taken the stereotype photo of a mine in South America. It's actually a copper mine, and if you Google, you will find that even the silver mines are also more or less the same. Can you see that since the Andes are a fold mountain and are formed of sedimentary rocks, can you see the distinct stratas, the distinct layers, and it looks so beautiful as it is lit up at night. The gold is especially found in Peru, and those of you who know the lore of El Dorado, it was one person, and he was a king. He was often smeared with gold, and then finally one thing led to the other. The story of El Dorado, the enigmatic El Dorado, is very, very common. You can also read it up, and it's said that he finally founded an empire, and it was abundant in gold. So South America, a very less frequented continent, is actually the storehouse of several minerals which are actually very, very precious. And it is said that here the word anti is a Quechuan word meaning copper. Besides copper, other minerals such as gold, silver, tin, lead, and platinum are also found. In Spanish, this mountain range is called Cordillera de los Andes. Now, what is the meaning? The word Cordillera means that it is not just one single strand of mountain. The Andes Cordillera is actually a combination of several ranges. So here we can see there are the Western Cordillera. So now there are many ranges, but that is not really very, what should I say, useful at our level. As we will grow older, it is better that then we learn the names of the several ranges, parallel ranges. But here we can see that in the northern section, the Andes branch out into basically 3 parallel ranges, where the average height of these parallel ranges is above around 4,000 meters. The central section, if you remember, the central section when we were doing the physical features in the previous day, and I had talked about the Atacama Desert, that near Peru, the central section is the widest and it is 800 kilometers across. Here, the Andes branch out into 2 sections. Can you see the Western Cordillera here? And the Eastern Cordillera, because this is east and this is west. And it is separated by a high plateau in Peru and Bolivia. And this is known as the Altiplano. The most beautiful part about the Andes mountain ranges is that in different places you find it in different beauties. If you look at the Himalayas, you will find that yes, it is rugged more or less and it is snow-capped. There is a particular type, a particular characteristic of the Himalayas that remain throughout. But since Andes run from the north to the south, it crosses a lot of latitudinal degrees and passes through a lot of climatic zones, which is why you will find the Andes in different glories. For example, in the southernmost area closest to the Southern Ocean or Antarctic region, you'll find it covered with ice. The ice slowly melts. Then there's a dash of colors as we move upwards through Chile. Then as we come to the Atacama Desert, suddenly there's a desert, and even that desert is so beautiful. We move further upwards to Peru, which is actually the source of the river Amazon, and here it is lush green. As we move further up near the Llanos, again it is very green. So that is why the Andes is so intriguing a landform. The highest peak of this mountain range is Mount Aconcagua. It is 6,960 meters high. So even though it might be situated near the tropical and temperate region, it is perpetually, as you can see, covered with snow, and it is so beautiful. The Andes Mountains is actually quite treacherous, but there are many brave people, tourists and locals who wish to conquer these mountains and walk through the passes, and they finally conquered. There are many peaks, Aconcagua being the highest of them. These remain snow-covered despite, as I said, being near the equator because of their staggering height. Now we know that the temperature drops by 1 degree centigrade for every 6.4 meters as we climb the mountain, which is the reason why near the foothills in Nainital you would feel warm, or even if you are taking a trek up Vaishno Devi, as and when you climb up the mountain, it becomes colder. So in spite of being situated near the equator, it's actually a very, very cold place because it is 6,960 meters high and therefore is perpetually snow covered. Now, in all mountains, there are certain places where the altitude is low and people can walk through it or pass through it. The most famous pass of the Andes is the Uspallata Pass. As you can see, it is one of the few passes, gaps or breaks, whatever you call it, in this lofty mountain chain. Otherwise, the entire mountain is a continuous occurrence composed of several parallel ranges. So this is the Uspallata Pass, and it has been very well developed into a road and people can go from one side to the other. Sometimes there are no roads over here. You can see that it's not that well pitched, but the pass is there for people to cross over from one side to another. Now this is one of the most beautiful and breathtaking scenes, as I must say. This is the Lake Titicaca. It is the second highest freshwater lake in the world, found here. You can see the location over here. I have not made this map very big, but you know because you have done the map pointing that this is where Lake Titicaca is located. Can you see the beautiful backdrop of the Andes and several migratory birds, especially the lesser flamingos? They come to Lake Titicaca, and so this is one of the most beautiful shots of Titicaca that I could find. Now, coming to the peaks, we know about the Pacific Ring of Fire, and since Andes Mountains is located near the Pacific coast, therefore most of the peaks over here, they are of volcanic origin, being concentrated in Ecuador, Quito. You can find this is Cotopaxi, this is Cayambe. So the Mount Cayambe, Cotopaxi, Chimborazo, where I could get a GIF picture of the Cotopaxi actually starting to erupt. So these are the volcanoes. Some are dormant, some are extinct, because all the peaks over here, they are basically volcanic in origin. Some are dormant, which means they might erupt anytime, but for hundreds of years they haven't. You know that because you've done the volcanoes chapter. I taught it to you. Then there are some extinct volcanoes which have not even erupted for thousands of years. And then there are some volcanoes like the Chimborazo, the Cotopaxi and Mount Cayambe of Ecuador, and these are all active, which means that the lava is boiling inside and it can erupt at any given time. But still, look at the beauty of it. It's so beautiful. Now, as I was talking about the different changes of the Andes, I cannot help but actually make you notice. So near the Tierra del Fuego or the Cape Horn, which is the southernmost area near Patagonia, this is also the Andes mountain. Can you see? These are the mountains, but look at the glaciers. I mean, it is one of the last glaciers of the world that is still there in its entire chunk. Sometimes it breaks, it becomes water, and then again it regenerates. Since this is an area which has not been very much attacked by the human beings, the footfall over here is less. This is the reason why this still remains in a virgin condition. So this is the Patagonian glacier of the Andes. Then as we go to the Peruvian Andes, the source of the river Amazon, look how beautiful and green it is. And in comparison, look how stark and brown and only filled with snow this one is. So as we go up the Andes, it is actually a change of vegetation, a change of what you look, I mean what you get to look at. So it's very, very beautiful. Oas del Salado is again one of the highest peaks of South America. You will find that the highest peaks of South America are listed again in page number 112. You have come across the others like Cotopaxi, Cayambe, etc., and Aconcagua, of course, which lies around 33 degrees south latitude. So this was one other peak which we missed out, the Oas del Salado. Next we come to the beautiful rivers. The rivers of South America are actually, they are not the river. See, if you look at the South American map, you will find that the majority of the rivers are concentrated over here. This is the Amazon River. Very less rivers are found in the Andean region. But those rivers which are found in the Andean region, they flow with a very high velocity, and therefore they are often used for hydroelectric power generation. Just like our own country, South America also has a very rich history. The Inca Empire, it flourished sometime around 13th century. Before the Spaniards, they came and took it over, say in late 15th or 16th century. And look at the beautiful, beautiful symmetrical geometric patterns in which they had built up their empire. And this dominating peak at the back, providing one of the most picturesque backdrops, is known as the Machu Picchu. This is one of the most famous sites of South America that you will come across. So you can of course Google about the Inca Empire. It's really, really fascinating. And lastly, the heartbeat of the beautiful Andes. You will find that in the Andes, the people are so hardy, so beautiful, so colorful, and they have, since there is not much complexity, in certain areas you will find that even technology and internet has not made its mark. So that makes them really, really rustic and close to the earth. And basically, if you hear any interview of any South American person, a local over there, they are very, very close to nature. They are drawn to nature. They love their wildlife, and they are pledged to taking care of it. Different types of wildlife that are found here are the alpacas. You can see this is a type of an animal known as an alpaca, which is with a small neck. On contrary, you find here the llama. This is against that, it's just roaming around near that remnants of the Inca Empire, but it has a longer neck. These are very shy feral horses which are found in the Patagonian Andes region, and they are a very, very rare sight. If you have to photograph them, you have to be downwind because they have a very keen sense of smell, and if they smell that there's someone around, they will just quickly run away. These are the beautiful penguins, as I was saying, of the southernmost parts of the Andes. And finally, as I think I had mentioned before, the killer whales or the orcas, again in the southern part we have. And looking at the mother and child duo, I don't think I need to tell you anything more, that as beautiful as this continent is, as beautiful as the landscape is, so as beautiful are the people. So with this, we come to the conclusion of the Andes Mountains. Please study it. And for those of you who are having Netflix at home, I will share a link of Netflix with you, which is about the Andes. It's spoken, the narration is in English, but the people who speak are speaking in Spanish. But if you care to go through it, you will actually see what I'm trying to tell you about the transitional Andes, about the beauty or the majesticity of the Andes. So take care, and with all these colorful and beautiful thoughts, I leave you. All the best for your upcoming examination.